Hi, my name is Richard from the McLennan Collective. I'm here with Peter Bushby from Peter Bushby Real Estate. G'day, Peter.
How are you, Richard?
I'm really good, thanks, and good to see you again. Would you believe it's episode 9 of Property Talk? Just amazing.
How quickly a week goes by.
Exactly, and so I believe the topic today, which we've been looking forward to, is the First Home Builders Boost. Have you got a few initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've got a lot of thoughts on it, to be honest. Look, we're going to have a look at just how effective the First Home Builders Boost is currently. The state government announced last week, as part of the budget that they're bringing down today, that they're extending the benefit for a further 12 months. So that means that there's $20,000 on offer for people buying new properties. Excellent. Or building a new one, which is a good thing. Sadly, though, I doubt that we're going to see any further support for first-home buyers more broadly, as in established properties, in the budget today. However, you do sort of live in hope, but I'm not expecting too much in that regard.
Now, we should stress that these are your comments and opinions as we go throughout the property talk today. And
they are, as usual. Yeah.
You own them, that's great. Yeah. And so could you tell us a little bit of background about the First Home?
The background, the First Home Owners Grant was in place until about 4 years ago. $7,000 typically available. There's some boosts in earlier times, but effectively about 4 years ago it was repackaged as the First Home Builders Grant for new properties and builds, and then there was a boost added to it, and at one point it got up in, I think, 2013 to a $30,000 offer, which is pretty phenomenal.
Excellent.
But it was sort of needed at that period because the building industry was in the in the doldrums. A year or so before they changed dropped the established grant, they also dropped the first $4,000 not being payable in stamp duty for first home buyers. So effectively for the last 5 years or so, there's been very little or no support whatsoever for first home buyers of established properties, which I really do think is unfair.
So do you support or don't support?
Look, I do support the boost and the building grant. I think it's a good thing, but it's sort of run its course. And if you look at the numbers, and we'll have a look at them in a minute, it perhaps needs to be modified again and look at just where the needs are. And I think there are a lot more people needing assistance to get into their first home. It's maybe not quite as lavish as a brand new house, given the building industry is ticking along pretty well, as is the state economy as it's improving. So
yeah, that's right.
But if we just have a look at the numbers,
what are they telling us?
It's interesting looking at the state revenue fact sheet. You have drilled down through it a bit. The first full year of operation, which was 14-15, there were 1,010 grant applications paid out. That means that about $30 million was paid, which was a massive uptake through that period. I put it down a lot to the fact that it was given an end date, and it continually is given an end date, so anybody who's looking to do something brings their intentions forward, and so you then wait for a whole batch of new people to be able to do that process. But each year since, we've seen a dramatic reduction in successful grants paid. In 2015-16, it dropped by 30% down to 713 applicants who got paid out, and that was a total of about $17 million, approaching $17 million. Current year to date, there have been less than 400 applications and less than 400 paid out. That means it looks like, if that stays on track, which is very likely, it's only going to be about an $8 million payout for the boost. So it's $22 million down on the peak, and only about a quarter of the first full year of actual operation of the boost scheme.
So would you say, because of that's diminishing, is the government actually overrating the value of the scheme?
Look, to a degree they are getting off cheap compared to what they've paid in the past, and it does sound a good news story in the media, and look, it's a good thing at the same time. But reality is, if the trajectory that is currently in place continues, it'll get down to about 15% for next fiscal year. So, I'm questioning how beneficial it really is and whether we need to rethink the whole thing. I think the government overall is doing a very good job, but they could be a lot fairer and more equitable with respect to support for first-home buyers. Typically a new house or unit or a build's not going to be under 300,000 in my area of operation, and there are a lot of people that just can't afford that who need assistance. And not always the case that they want a new house or they want the location where new houses or units are. and the style of property may not suit them either. So it's limiting the capacity for it to be effective as well.
So is the government helping or hindering, would you suggest, Pete?
Oh, look, I think they could be just doing a lot more if they broadened the whole package. They've had a $100 million budget windfall, according to reports recently, in the fact that the property market in Tasmania has improved, and so they've actually got a lot more money coming in that part of their financial equation, and it'd be good if they'd actually put some back out to help first home buyers do so. I've got a few more stats here. It's interesting, the first home buyer participation in the market's dropped quite dramatically. 2012 it was 17% of the market was to first home buyers. Last year it was down to 12%. And look, just another number that's interesting to compare. When we had the $7,000 grant, which was available across the board in 2010-11, that was for established and new houses, there were 2,630 first home grants paid out. This year it looks like it'll be, as I said, around that 400 mark, so it's a dramatic reduction in support.
The facts definitely tell the story there, don't they?
Yeah, look, sadly, I think the people who need the most need the assistance, they're not getting it, and I think that's the inequity, and that's where I'd like to see the government do more. I really think that the process forward would, in a perfect world, would be that they continue the first homeowners grant. That's the $10,000 component, not the boost. But then they provide, rather than giving it as a payout, do it as a saving, and up to depending on what you're purchasing, the first $10,000 in any stamp duty payable be exempt for first home buyers. So if they're buying a new house unit, don't pay stamp duty until it gets to the 10,000 mark, and they pay beyond that. And the same would apply for land, and if you're building, you wouldn't be, in most cases, be paying any stamp duty on your land purchase, which would pretty much even up a lot of the boost factor for first home builders. So
yeah, that sounds very sound.
There's an interesting thing that's happening in the Northern Territory. The new Labor government up there has actually brought out a new policy for first home buyers. They're actually providing a grant for buyers, but they're also a package where essentially if you buy an established property, you can apply for a grant, and I think it's up to $8,000 for improvements to that established property to be done, but there are some conditions, and they include using professional tradespeople and so on, so it's still giving stimulus to the building industry. So I think that's
like some good
quite an interesting one to look at.
And so why is it important to assist all first home buyers?
Look, I think broadly home ownership takes people out of the rent cycle, and that takes a pressure off the rent market and rents, and increasing rents, and provides more availability.
Yes.
Provides greater security of tenure for people. You're not fearful that you're going to have to move at the end of the lease, all that sort of thing.
Definitely.
Often the other thing that people forget is if people moving up and down the property ladder, whether they're upsizing, downsizing, whatever, that creates stimulus in the market. The people who the first home buyers might be buying off could well be building a new house or go and buy a new house, so it stimulates the whole market. And it's best to have all levels of the market operating, because greater stimulus at the end of the day for the government creates greater stamp duty receipts, which is what they like, of course. And home ownership over time enables people to build assets and wealth, and it's important that as a community we all grow in that respect. The single biggest impediment to anybody buying a property, apart from obviously the price itself, is stamp duty, and it would be very nice to see the government go back to supporting first home buyers, because that is a fundamental part of the Australian dream of getting onto the property cycle, owning a property and putting a roof over your family's head. So I think that's probably enough of me on this one, but I hope people have got something out of that.
I've really enjoyed that, Pete, and thanks very much. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to actually write them on the Facebook below this Facebook Live, or just contact Peter directly.
Please do, yes.
And have you got any open homes for this
week?
week?
We've got a couple of open homes. 166 King Street out at Westbury's open between 11 and 11:30. Peter Darrow's there. That's a big character home on a big block, 428,000. I'm out at Bracknell again at 72 Louisa Street. At 11:30 to 12, and that's a really immaculate 3-bedroom brick home on a bigger block, and that's just $285,000.
And next week's topic?
Yeah, next week I thought we'd take a look at what is a perennial problem in real estate that often causes issues unless it's dealt with correctly, and that is those unapproved extensions, decks and sheds. We can have a look at that and just what's the best way to deal with that ahead of a problem occurring.
Sounds like a very practical episode.
Absolutely. So look, thanks for watching today. I hope you can join me again next Thursday, 12 o'clock, when we will bring you edition 10. So
Thanks.
have a good day.